What do you think is the cause for this great increase?
I think I know there's many reasons, and it's difficult to pinpoint. But certainly, in my opinion, the increase in unemployment, and it's the chain reaction from unemployment, inability to pay rent, resulting in eviction notices, and the people who receive aid from the state welfare department, which for the most part is inadequate to meet their needs. These people also are referred to us, and everyone else that has any kind of problem. Sickness, pregnancy, desertion on the part of husbands, the whole gamut of human difficulties. And also, I would point out that the front door of the County Welfare Department services a community of around almost 1.25 million people.
Has it ever been this bad in the 13 years that you've been in charge of the department?
Yes, we have had a more difficult time during the winter and spring of 1959-1960.
The word on the new Fort Worth Central Library is not now, but maybe next year. By a 6-3 vote, the City Council decided to delete the $7.9 million for the library from the 1970-72 Capital Improvements Bond Program. The bond issue itself passed on the next vote. One citizen who didn't make it to the public hearing last week took the opportunity today to express her dissatisfaction with what she called the council's little reports. 17-year-old Anita Blake says she uses the library every Sunday afternoon and that it's woefully inadequate.
I know that.
Following the official vote, Councilman William Sarsgaard, who supported the inclusion of the library in the bond issue, proposed a resolution that would ensure the consideration of a new library in the near future.
Whereas the City Council has voted to remove the Central Library proposal from the 1970 Capital Improvement Program. And whereas the City Council recognizes the need for a new Central Library and desires to meet that need is rapid, the question of issuing bonds for the construction of the new Central Library will be called to the City Council no later than September 1971.
Various members of the council expressed what they call the overwhelming will of the people in defeating the library issue at this time. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Cultural awareness, of course, is a very broad term. It simply means that we as managers of the educational corporation have to be responsive to the conflict within our present culture and move toward a confluence of cultures rather than remain at the conflict level.
Another major thing that you're going to talk about here at Lake Texoma is teacher militancy. You've noticed in the last few weeks the teachers of Dallas want higher salaries and have mentioned doing certain things to ensure them getting higher salaries. This is teacher militancy. What are we going to talk about up here? Frank Dyson, the Dallas police chief, and Henry Wade, the district attorney up here. What will they discuss? What is the particular problem of principle in the school law?
Well, of course, we've had a number of changes in the last 3 or 4 years in school law, as evidenced by court cases that have been tried not only here in our district courts, but in circuit courts and the Supreme Court. We'll be talking about these various changes and how they affect student, teacher, and parental rights.
Byron Fullerton lashed out at the college radical on campus, saying that the radical's whole purpose in being was the violent overthrow of the system, be it good or bad.
Some subscribe to the theory of anarchy, others subscribe to the theory of socialism, others communism, and there is no one plan, and I have talked to many of them, and they have no organized substitute, no substitute. Just destruction.
The candidate showed his political adeptness and sense of humor when questioned about the recent faculty dismissals at the University of Texas at Austin.
Curtis, will you sit down, please? The next question. I have a policy in my going around the state and making these speeches that I do not speak unless I have the facts, and I've been on leave of absence since February the 15th, and I do not have sufficient facts to comment out loud.
Art Sinclair, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Now, I can't vote now, and I'm not going to be here next year. But I'm saying this because I have used the library, and I know what the other kids in high school that are coming up behind me are going to have to cope with down here. And it's something that I know that the people want, because the people that use the library are the people that are going to be voting for the issue, and they're going to pass it, and they're going to make sure that this is something that the people of Fort Worth do have, because it's a bad situation there.
Well, teacher militancy is not a bad thing. I think teacher militancy is good because it's aimed at improving the education for boys and girls. What we're interested in is channeling this enthusiasm and this energy into constructive channels. That is, we're interested in developing responsive, responsible militancy on the part of our employees. We think the end result will be good.
The word on the new Fort Worth Central Library is not now, but maybe next year. By a 6-3 vote, the City Council decided to delete the $7.9 million for the library from the 1970-72 Capital Improvements Bond Program. The other portions of the Capital Improvements Program received council approval on the next vote. One citizen who didn't make it to the public hearing last week took the opportunity to express her dissatisfaction today with what she called the council's little reports. 17-year-old Anita Blake says she uses the library every Sunday afternoon and that it's woefully inadequate. Following the official vote, Councilman William Sarsgaard, who supported the inclusion of the library in the bond issue, proposed a resolution that would ensure the consideration of a new library in the near future. Various members of the council expressed what they called the overwhelming will of the people in defeating the library.
Back pass. Touchdown. Pass complete to number 20. Harold Williams in for the touchdown. On right back.
Black Muslims from all over North Texas have gathered to celebrate the opening of a new mosque in Fort Worth. The Black Muslims believe in total separation of the races, both personally and economically. Black Muslims are a peaceful cult and have been in existence since the 1930s. Dallas has had a mosque since 1959. Isaiah Kareem is Muhammad's messenger. Tell me this, a lot of white people believe that Muhammad's Mosque of Islam believes in preaching hate. Is this particular mosque organized to preach hate here in Fort Worth?
No, sir. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Messenger Muhammad never teaches us to teach hate. We are simply teaching the truth of our people and what they have been deprived of for 400 years. And the Fort Worth Mosque is one of the mosques of Messenger Muhammad throughout the nation, and we are not together to teach hate. We don't have time to teach hate. We have too short a time to get our people together and give them a sense of dignity and race pride.
The primary effort of the Black Muslims is to clean up the black man. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Jess Brown in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth City Councilman Monday will decide whether to include the new proposed Central Library in the upcoming September the 8th bond election. Several speakers and a number of civic groups petitioned the City Council last Monday, asking that the voters be given a chance to decide if they wanted the $7.9 million library package included in the $46.3 million 7072 Capital Improvements Program. This response came after Mayor R.M. Sharkey Stovall announced that the council intended to delete the library from the bond issue. Those who favor the deletion seem to have the majority of the councilmen on their side. Councilman Taylor Gandy told me this morning that he would vote along with the mayor and the others who favor dropping the library from the issue.
Specifically, we hope to get them in college. To do this, of course, we have to know the curricula of the schools that are involved in this program. Generally, it's uplift the police to a point of professionalization.
What kinds of courses are the policemen going to be encouraged to study? What are they studying now? Is this just the nuts and bolts of how you catch a criminal, or are there more courses aimed towards the social sciences and humanities?
Well, this is a multidiscipline approach. They should be studying sociology, psychology, and such as this. It's not just criminal investigation and criminology. It goes into law and the whole criminal justice bit, really.
SMU hopes that the sound of that whinnying Mustang auto horn is going to help them win this year's National Intercollegiate Clean Air Car Race, which runs from Massachusetts to California. One of the drivers is Bob Pepler from SMU. Bob, what are you going to do to win this race?
We're going to go cross country and not pollute the atmosphere.
Is there any way to check whether you're polluting or not?
Yes, we'll be checked in Boston, and Detroit, and Pasadena. The car will be run through a standard California 7-mode cycle, and the pollution derived from that cycle will determine how we polluted the air.
What techniques are you using in the car to hold down the pollution?
We're using exhaust recirculation, catalytic mufflers, ignition timing, and propane fuel.
Are any of these techniques applicable to commercial cars? Can we see something like this on the road in a couple of years?
We hope so, because I get tired of a polluted atmosphere very much that we see this type of equipment. It is applicable to modern cars.
So collegiates in the Clean Air Car Race are working on techniques which may help us to cut down pollution tomorrow. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, SMU.
I feel very strongly that Texans would be better served, and people in general would have a greater interest in our primary elections and our system of nominating candidates for public office if the first primary date were moved to, say, the first week in August, and the runoff date was moved to the first week in September.
I think the important areas or issues that were brought to the committee were those involving repeal of annual voter registration, the question of making the primary date closer to the general election, the question of voting on Tuesdays instead of Saturdays, the question of putting the election processes under one election official, such as a voter registration official, instead of leaving part of it under the tax assessor's office.
Now, let's be candid with each other. Texas is too low in education for all of its people, we do not have as good an educational system as we should have, and each of us knows in our heart that there are areas of minority schools that aren't up to par. But the answer isn't forced busing to achieve a racial balance. The answer lies in the neighborhood schools with a freedom of choice and with a strong emphasis on quality.
Many times, the majority of the students actually take part in the campus demonstration, but for different reasons. What difference is there between the average student who will take part in the demonstration and those who lead the demonstration?
Well, it's a difference between the leader and the follower in any situation. You have people who come to a university for specific life goals. Their primary concern is to get a degree, get an education, or their concern is to participate in some particular activity. And you have others who are basically leaders. They're there to be activists. They're concerned about specific areas, you know, and they want to direct solutions to those problems as they see them. So what you have is students, for instance, leading moratoriums, and many other students who are, you know, concerned in other areas of the university coming in on this particular issue. For instance, at the University of Texas, where somebody organized a moratorium or a march in downtown Austin, and 20,000 people showed up.
The American dream of free enterprise became a reality today in Fort Worth with the official opening of Superior Tool Company here at 5801 East Rosedale. The company, which lays, milling machines, and other metal cutting equipment, will manufacture both precision and non-precision parts. In September of last year, a group of businessmen formed what is now known as the Minority Business Foundation. This organization, working with the SBA, has been able to channel capital toward minority enterprises. Jim Reed of the Small Business Administration defines the role of the SBA, and Otis Martin, the president of the new manufacturing company here in Fort Worth, describes what this venture means to the black community of Fort Worth.
The Small Business Administration will assist Superior Tool Company in getting federal contracts through General Service Administration, the Defense Department, and other federal agencies, and will be able to manufacture for them general use items that will be purchased in millions of dollars. In this place, we're going to help people helping themselves by making employment, let them come into the plant and they're trained for better jobs to get the feeling that they can do something for themselves. We have our own people involved in this particular plant with their own money. At present time, we haven't asked the government for anything. However, we are applying for loans, but this plant now has been financed solely by the members of the Minority Business Development Foundation and the stockholders of the Superior Tool Company.
Among the local and national dignitaries present at today's formal dedication was City Manager Howard McMahon and the Executive Vice President of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Ernie Larmer. Cochise Cash, Channel 8 News, on the move, Fort Worth.
Chief Robinson, you were first on the scene. What did you find when you got here?
Well, when we arrived, this area over here was completely involved due to a break in one of the lines over here. We had all the fuel spill from over in this area over here.
Now, this is where the 5-6 trucks were wiped out?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any damage estimates on the vehicles alone?
Well, I understand these are around $25,000 a piece on these trucks, and there was 5 of those that were completely destroyed.
Chief Moore, there was a shift change in the middle of this fire, and when you arrived, what was the situation?
When I arrived, this building here was completely involved on the inside. We had these 5 trucks over here going. We had a truck in each one of these loading racks. Had 4 trucks there, and they were all filling. Had hose lines to them. We had spillage out here. It was running toward this dock area, and I immediately come to Chief Rawson. We got together, and I conferred with him on what he had going, what kind of tactics he had going. We both decided to notify Dallas and ask for their foam truck, crash truck, to be sent to this location, and which it was an invaluable help. I really don't know whether we could have got it without them or not.
Do you have any speculation on how this fire started, Captain Robinson?
Well, like I said before, this flange blew out over here, and you had the spillage, and it run down to where they was trying to start a truck or something was working on it over here.
I see, and a spark ignited fumes?
Apparently, that's what happened. And then we had all this area over here involved.
Do you feel that this is a move to go ahead and pass such an authorization and put it on his desk as an embarrassment?
Oh, it's completely a political move. It's very subtle, just like a elephant running into a brick wall, what they're trying to do. And they're saying that price and wage controls are his responsibility, that they don't have, but it's this big spending government. It's this democratic spending, all this wild spending is causing the inflation, and they don't want to take the blame for it.
You see, there's a big debate going on as to who's responsible for inflation. In my view, the national leadership of the Democratic Party in the Congress is responsible because they spent $65 billion more than we took in as a country for 8 years. And there's no way you can live on this kind of a binge without having a little bit of a hangover when you sober up. And so they're trying to say, oh, let's let the government figure out. Let's get a little more government control to solve the problem. And I don't think we need wage and price controls.
A great deal of this credit must belong to the country from which he came, because it is good country. The people are very honest. They do take their government very serious. In the important position of Speaker, he's worked for the benefit of all Texans, and he has had to consider which decisions were best when applied to the entire state of Texas. However, Gus is your representative first, and he's Speaker of the House second. He's never forgotten his primary allegiance. He's been completely unselfish to this district, and he's been unselfish to the people of our state.
How do you feel about your chances of making the ball club now?
Well, judging from what Dallas has got coming back and the defensive backs, the opportunity lies in the one defensive back position. I feel that if I can do an adequate job at defensive back, that my chances are real good.